Morning, Sue, John, Loring, and Dave.
Morning.
Morning all.
Brent, are you there by yourself? All I see is you and a palm leaf.
I guess I should move the palm.
Well,
Oh, there we go.
No, Norma and Nancy and I are here.
Oh, okay.
Nancy's decided she needs to sweep the porch,
okay.
Oh, okay.
so she's hunting for a broom.
Well, presumably they're hiding in the same place they were a year ago, but who knows?
Well, I suggested she use the one she rode in on, but
Now,
What did you
Brent,
say after you picked yourself up again?
yeah.
good question, David.
Lynn, what did we learn about what took Bill Card?
Where you learn about what happened to him or the arrangements? Or...
What took him? Why he died?
He was in a terrible car accident. He was going west on Canby Road, getting ready to turn left onto 67. He had the green arrow, and he was paying enough attention to realize that there was a semi coming that was not going to stop, that was going to run the red light. So he stopped, but the car behind him didn't, and rear-ended him and threw him out into the path of the semi. So he was in the hospital for a couple of weeks, but never woke up, and then passed away.
That's too bad.
Oh yeah, it's just tragic. But that's what happened. For anybody interested, the calling is tomorrow evening from 4 to 8 at Jones, and then the funeral is Tuesday morning at 11, also at Jones. Morning, Sylvia. Morning, Patrice.
Morning.
Oh, there's Dan. Hi, Dan.
Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Sue.
Good morning.
Hi, Dave. Oh,
Hi, Jan.
Hi, Jane.
what happened? It's close together.
Oh, our feedback.
Looks like everybody has pretty good weather around the country today.
It's a beautiful day here in Indiana.
Just not enough rain yet, huh?
We've had what, two inches this week, and it's supposed to rain 3 or 4 days this coming week.
Not getting any in Iowa yet, though.
No. Or Kansas.
Maybe tonight.
Maybe tonight. It's cloudy today. We were at my sister Patrice's near Wichita.
Morning, Steve.
Morning, Dave. How are you?
I'm doing fine, thanks.
Good.
No costume, Steve?
Yeah, no hang.
No, actually, I'm thinking of Bill Card today, and so I'm not dressed for the occasion.
How old was he? Seems like I remember him with a little bitty guy,
69.
69. Yeah, that made him a little bitty guy to me.
Yes.
Yeah, he worked for us, so not only was he a friend, but he was a colleague as well. So we're gonna miss him in lots of ways.
He was in David Elber's class at Decatur Central.
Yes.
Yeah, Dave, he drove a semi for us also managed a shop for a couple companies that ran semis. So, you remember how to drive a semi?
I remember mostly how, but I can't see well enough to do it anymore. I don't know where most of it would be.
Well, we won't be sending you a contract then to drive.
You best not.
Hmm. So what's the
Dan?
temperature in Stuart, Florida this morning?
It was around 72 or 3, I think, at 6 o'clock. Supposed to get up to close to 90 today, I think.
Oh,
We're not getting any rain down here either. It's still very dry.
we'd be glad to share. We've had some and we're going to get more this week.
I think Dan asked for it first.
Dave, I looked up Stuart, Florida sometime on Google, kind of see what the place looks like, and now I get updates of everything that's going on in Stuart, Florida pops up. Tells me about all the development projects and all going on.
That's really pretty sad because it's they're building everything they can get materials for, and prices have gone out of sight, and 1,000 people a day moving to Florida and coming to this quiet little village that we used to like, and now we can't even get out on the streets anymore.
Oh, you've been discovered.
Yeah, unfortunately. Fortunately, the only thing that's really remained kind of the same is they don't allow any building over 4 stories high. So the high rises up and down the beaches don't exist in Martin County.
Right.
Good.
So to turn out of our street onto Dixie Highway to turn left, we have to turn right and go up around the circle, which is a block north, to come back south again, just to get out in the traffic.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we have that trouble on Hendricks County Line Road too. It's less since Sylvia moved away, but
And Dan, I know we're going to echo here because Sylvia's sitting across. Maybe I could move. But anyway, I want to tell you, we've had a lot of fun with the recipe book you sent. Dan Berger, thank you. There's a Stevenson family restaurant. We haven't tried any recipes out of it, but we've had fun reading it.
Well, I'm glad you got some good out of it. I have about 500 more recipe books if you'd like.
Always love a good recipe.
Something about finding them at a yard sale or Goodwill, it just attaches to my hand and won't let go.
Awesome. Well, that's pretty fun. The kids have all picked it up and said, Stevenson restaurant, what? So it's been fun.
well, we did have some big excitement on Hendricks County Road yesterday for us. Nancy and I were going to go out and pick up rocks out of the field and trash, and saw 2 sheriff's cars out there. Didn't see anything else at first, and then looked down the road and there was another car sitting there, and a young lady had been racing evidently down Hendricks County Line Road going west, And we don't know if she was high or drunk. She had a history of both. But she shot off the highway through the field and hit our nephew Kevin's brick encased mailbox head on and threw it all over the field and dodged between woods and a fire hydrant back up onto the road. But I hadn't seen a wreck like that for a long time. Pretty much tore up her whole front end of her car, and she seemed to be okay. But there was a lot of conjecture about how it happened. She claimed her steering locked up, but there were no skid marks or anything else to indicate she just shot off the road out through the field. She had to be going really fast to destroy a mailbox like that. So I was glad she was okay.
Where was this relative to your house or Sylvia's house?
It was between our places. So there's a field just west of us, and it was the edge of that field before the little T road that goes down to the north. So, I mean, I'd seen mailboxes hit and laying there before, but I never seen bricks that were thrown 50 to 60 feet by the impact of a car.
2 weeks before, or 2 or 3 weeks ago when I was home, there was a kid who hit a utility pole there at the T between us and broke it off. He got out of the car and walked across the road and said, uh-oh. They replaced it in about 2 hours and power went on. That's why I don't walk along that road anymore.
Yeah.
It's become a racetrack.
Well, I think it's time to have our prelude. If you'd put yourselves on mute, it might pick up the music a little bit better. And then when we get back together, we'll do announcements and joys and concerns. Thanks, Norma. Are there joys and concerns to share?
Well,
Sure.
I congratulate Steve Mills on his 76th birthday on May 5th. And my track competitor at Earlham College in 1964. And the archives of Earlham sent me a photo of Steve and me and Nat White after I made a contribution to the Alumni Fund. I'm certainly glad Steve is here to celebrate his 76th birthday, since he could always beat me in the 880 anyway. And I have one other question for Dan Berger. In his excellent message 2 weeks ago, he closed with a psalm, and I thought he said Psalm 26, but I looked up Psalm 26 and it didn't quite resonate. Maybe it was a different version. And I wanted to ask Dan, what psalm did you close your message with 2 weeks ago?
Your memory is much better than mine. I would have to go look it up.
Oh, I thought you had it pretty well marked out because it kind of highlighted your message. You don't resonate whether it was Psalm 26?
It was a low number, 26, 27, 46, somewhere in there.
What version of the Bible? It wasn't the RSV, was it?
Yes.
The new one or the 1952 one?
I believe the new one.
Yeah, it wasn't the one that Steve and I had to use at Earlham in 1964.
Well, Dan,
Okay,
if
that's
you
enough of
find
that.
it, send it to me and I'll post it when I post the video of the service today.
I'll do that. Yep, I'll do that.
Well, I have two things, and I'm not sure whether they're joys or concern. Drake turns 13 today, so I'm not sure how a teenager here is gonna. He's a joy, but I know what teenage years are. And then Mama Cat Elliott brought her 4 babies down for me to see, and they're just as cute as they can be, and they're just running through my raised flower beds, knocking things over and having a good time.
It's a joy for us to be at Patrice and David's at Goddard, Kansas, and it was delightful yesterday to attend a couple of the baseball game, one baseball game and one soccer game, and see the whole family. All of Patrice's family were here last evening for a delightful time.
I just got to add, they're just pretty darn good sports.
Well, let's hold these joys and concerns of teenage years approaching or here in God's light and love as we enter into the silence. I'm the worship leader today, so I'll speak when led out of the silence. If you'd put yourselves on mute, that will really help with any feedback or anything. And if you feel led to speak out of the silence, please do so. when I got an email from Norma towards the end of the week reminding me it was time to pick out a couple hymns. I thought about how I used to pick out hymns when we met in person, to try and pick something out of the ordinary that we usually sang, just so we'd sing new lyrics, perhaps to a favorite tune, but it seemed now was a good time to stick with familiar tunes in lyrics. And All Things Bright and Beautiful is what I loved, and it seemed appropriate to this time of year when there is so much bright and beautiful all around us. I spent a few mornings this week out doing work around the farm. One morning I was out and a flock of turkeys walked by in front of where I was. Another one was getting ready to go down the hill to the lower woods, and there stood our nighttime visitor or evening visitor, Dearie, as we call it. She's easy to spot because she has a yellow tag in her ear, and she was standing down at the bottom of the hill eating, I don't know, grasses or dandelions or something, and looked at me and I looked at her, and finally I coasted down the hill in the cart, and she just stood there until I got fairly close and walked off a little bit. It was really quite wonderful to see the various flowers that are blooming in the woods. The bluebells are starting to die out, but there's still some deep in the woods, and just all kinds of spring beauties on the hill. The May apples are coming out. Yesterday, though, I decided it was time to mow the trails in through the woods. So I got out my truly is a beater old John Deere lawn tractor. I got it up at Reynolds on one winter day when I was getting my chainsaw fixed, and I asked Bob, I said, so you have any old mowers that I could mow trails with? Because Nancy's yelling at me for using her better mower. And so I said, if you have one that'll start on this January day, I'll take it. So we went out, and here was this little thing that was all beat up. One headlight missing, the other didn't work. The hood is cracked. The seat is held together with duct tape and who knows what else. And it started right up, so I bought it for a whole $250 and delivered. So yesterday I got it out and headed out into the woods. And there are all these trails that we've made through the woods, and the new woods and the old woods both. Almost all the trails, though, have something in common, and that is they were animal traces. Now, when I first moved there many years ago, about 17 years ago, as a city boy, I didn't know animal tracks that much or paths, but walking along, I learned to spy them, these well-worn paths that the deer and the groundhogs and the raccoons and all had made through the woods and the fields. And so I found joy in following those just to see how they went. And then when we started planting all the trees that we did in the woods that have grown up, we made those trails, and so we could walk them and enjoy them. And yesterday when I was out for that 2 hours, a little more, mowing all the trails, I thought about a verse in Jeremiah that I've liked a lot. And it's from Jeremiah 6:16. It says, "This is what the Lord says. Stand at the crossroads and look, ask for the ancient paths. Ask where the good way is and walk in it." And so as I was thinking about that, I thought how many of those trails had been there a long, long time, and we've just widened them first for walking paths, and now some of them so we can ride the cart, since it's hard for Nancy to walk on all that uneven ground. And how the deer and the raccoons and the skunk still follow those paths, and there are always new ones to explore, but they're ancient, so many of them. They've been there a long time. And I began to think of other ancient paths in my life that I follow. I think of the paths of my ancestors, my family. I hear my voice following the ancient paths of some of my father's speech patterns. My sister Kathleen, at times when we talk on the phone, she goes, "You sound just like Dad." And sometimes I find phrases that he says coming out of my mouth. I also think of all the things that he taught: measure twice or three times and then cut once. Of course, one thing he didn't say, and we learned by me watching him and keeping my mouth shut, because he always said, "Don't interrupt me while I'm working," was make sure after you measure twice, before you cut that once, make sure you're at the right end of the door you want to make shorter. I think of my grandparents and the ancient ways they walked in. Grandpa Bill, I still see him. I walk by their house every morning on my way to high school, and the light was on in the corner, and Grandpa would be sitting there reading his Bible, smoking a Camel. I don't smoke the Camels, but it was a good lesson, always sitting there reading his Bible. And I think of the ancient paths of the Quaker faith that I try to follow, to look for that of God in everyone, to try and live simply upon this earth, the good in ancient ways. And as a person who tries, not always well, but tries to follow the way of Jesus, the ancient teachings of his that even predate him, but which he articulated so well. Think of how God has been present in human life since the world was created. It has been teaching us and guiding us these ancient ways. Seems like we forget the ancient paths. We prefer superhighways. I think of the Planning Commission of Plainfield that wants to put in a new interchange and what that means, how it'll save 5 minutes for some people and could destroy habitat and ways of life for the farmers around that area. We rush, rush, rush. The end of that verse actually says, ask for the ancient paths, ask for where the good way is and walk in it, and you will find rest for your souls. I do find that my soul is more restful when I walk in the ways that I've been taught, in the ways of God. But I also know that the ancient ways, like the deer paths and so forth, if we want to walk in them, need to be cleared. and prepared. John the Baptist was told to prepare a way of the Lord. I suppose that's a charge for us as well, to keep these ancient paths clear so that others might find them and walk in them. Our way of sharing the good news, not to let them become overgrown and hard to find, but to clear the paths, trim the branches, open the way. And what is it the Lord wants? What is this ancient way? Well, Micah says He has shown you what is good and what the Lord requires. To act justly and to love mercy and walk humbly with God. That's a good path to be on. May we seek those ancient paths, and may we walk them humbly with our God. How great thou art. Are there thoughts that friends would like to share before we make our transition into the unprogrammed worship? Announcements or anything?
I continue to encourage people to watch to come to the Wellesley Friends meeting event where we will get to see the ever famous Brent Bill at work. I think you all got the email.
Brent Bill doesn't work. Well, it's good to see you all. Have a blessed week. And we hope to see you next Sunday, live or via Zoom. It's good to see everyone.
Brent's message today about following ancient paths um, really struck a chord with me. I've heard most of my life how much I'm like my mom, but they're mostly in ways that I don't have much control over. How I look, how my voice sounds, mannerisms, and things like that. But this week, on two totally separate occasions, two people have said to me, "You are so much like your mom." And it was for things that I had chosen to do or to say, rather than things that I don't have any control over. And obviously that touched me quite a bit, but I hadn't really realized until Brent's comments this morning about following ancient paths, how much I've actually chosen to follow mom's path. Not that I want to be her, but I want to be like her. And the way that she chose to live her life is a way that I'm choosing to emulate. And just being reminded of that this morning by your words, Brent, was very helpful and touching, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, we're about at the close of our time together. Are there thoughts that friends would like to share before we say goodbye?
Thank you for the message, Brent. I really enjoyed it.
I agree. It was really good. Thanks, Brent.
Well, it's good to see everybody, and hopefully we'll all be together again next week. Blessings.
Bye.
Bye.